Okay, I'm gonna. I'm gonna call this Board of Education meeting to order at 6:30 on October 23rd. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Do we have any public comment in the room? Seeing none. Any public comment online? I don't see any there either. So we have Brian Burdick and Lisa Mazzella joining us virtually. And I believe that brings us to our first presentation, Deb Dwyer from Cub Club. Come on up, Deb.
As Deb's coming up, I have a handout, which is a financial report for the Cub Club for September. If you could just pass those down. And you could see that just before Deb speaks, I just want to point out that the bottom line for the first month of the program, which included 2 days in August, we're in the black by $1,408. Okay, so we're not losing money. The program financially is successful. All right, Deb, can you please tell us about the Cub Club?
Okay. Good. All right, I'm really excited that I was given the opportunity to start the program here at Cub Club. I've worked with Jamie for quite some time trying to get this up and rolling along with Troy, and I'm really glad that it's up and running. The kids seem to be having a really good time. Actually, I was just going through the enrollment for November. We have new families that are joining the program, which is a good thing. It sounds like talking today with the kids, they're like, oh, I was telling my friends. And that student said, oh, did my friends sign up? And actually, it's one of the friends that did sign up for the month of November, 1 day a week, which is typical. I've been doing this for 23 years. So it kind of started as 1 day and it might move up to 2 days. The kids seem to enjoy it. Even just as a play date, get together, their friends are there. Today being a half day, it was a long day. We painted pumpkins. We made edible pumpkin patch out of pudding and edible grass and pumpkins. The kids had a really good time. They're all excited about their pumpkins. Then we went outside and played games, and they seem to be really excited.
Deb, is there some special things planned for November that you could mention?
Yep. In November, we have the full day. We're going to go over to Peabody Museum for our field trip. For the half days, we talked again today as far as activities the children wanted to do for the 3 half days in November. They did want to do more cooking. So we talked about things that we could do for snacks and other fall activities.
Deb, how's your staffing for the program?
They're
Could you
great.
comment about that? Like maybe not names or whatever, but specifically you have some students helping you, I believe, right?
Yes, I have 3 high school students and I have 1 adult staff. The high school students are great. I've worked with lots of high school students. Their enthusiasm, the kids really connect with them. They're young, they're energetic. They bring a lot of good things to the program.
Yeah, that's really a special part of the program is having the actual high school students actually employed in the program. We had people interested in volunteering, but we actually have them employed. So they're actually getting paid through the program while they're earning valuable experience. And I believe at least one of them is an education pathway at Wheeler, maybe more than one. So this is a really cool collaboration opportunity where we have a elementary school right next to Wheeler.
Actually, two of the staff are on the education pathway.
Awesome.
Yes. Yep. And they're really excited. They're learning a lot. You know, they're in the school already, so they've already had connections with the kids throughout the day, and then they enhance that connection once they come to Cub Club after school or even in the morning.
Have the parents been any positive comments from parents that you've had?
Lots of positive. Yes.
They like it.
Oh, yes, they do.
They want you to work on Saturday?
Actually, they wanted me to work longer on the full day program. They wanted me to come in earlier. I said, well, that'll have to something maybe we could do like a survey on and kind of get the feedback from the parents. I mean, maybe 8 to 5 doesn't work. I mean, maybe we'd have to bring it to 7 to 4. It sounded like a lot of parents had to be to work at 7:30. So again, that's something I want to present to the parents, kind of get their input to see maybe 8 to 5 doesn't work. I mean, maybe the 7 to 4 would be better, 7:30 to 4:30. But that's something I'd like to kind of bring to the parents and get their feedback on. But I think, yeah, they would want me there earlier.
Just as a parent quickly, I know that I've said this before, but both of my boys absolutely love the program. They had opportunities this week where they wouldn't have had to go in. And instead of choosing to stay home and just hang out on the couch, they chose to go in early to school so they could hang out at Cub Club. So that's, I think very telling of the fact that it's not just a place where kids are sitting around. It's a place where kids are going and enjoying themselves, having fun and doing programming and having activities that they're enjoying with their peers. So
I'll second that. My child also enjoys it, especially those half days. So the half days are really helpful for parents, but also she just loves it. And we did one morning day. And she was like, can I go back again in the morning? And I was like, I don't know if you're going to make it on time, but she was just really excited and really just enthusiastic to go and had a lot of fun.
I'll ask, is there anything that the Board of Ed can help you with? Any needs or opportunities of improvements that we can help?
I actually, on every Friday in November, we're going to have the Denison Pequot Nature Center come through. So we have that going on as well. I'd like to tie in more of those kind of activities, especially with winter coming on. They're going to be inside a little bit more. And again, this afternoon, we did a lot of talking about like, what do the kids want to see? What do they want to do? So more just in the enrichment part, it would be wonderful to be able to bring into the program.
And Deb, you got a grant for that Friday
I did.
event, right?
Yes.
So that's paid for by a grant that Deb applied for.
Yep.
Deb, I wanted to give a shout out to you for applying for a grant. I feel like you've been incredibly resourceful right from the beginning. This is not easy. It was a really bumpy start. I mean, you really hung in with us for like a year, right? I mean, it was, it was a long time. And it's not easy to create something that doesn't have a history here. So I really appreciate your tenacity and then your resourcefulness. Thank you for looking for alternative ways
Right.
to fund these exciting things for the kids. And I think it's really great. It's really great for the school community. And I appreciate you doing it.
Thanks. Yeah. And pretty much, I mean, I know it was a year in the making, which was really nice because I had that time and I did stay optimistic that it was going to get up and run. I mean, childcare there's a need. My program over the summer that I ran, we had 97 children on an everyday basis for 8 weeks. It's there in our program. I believe that this will grow over time. I think once the kids see and hear what we're doing, even this afternoon when I was heading over here, when all the cheerleaders were coming in and the other kids were coming in, they're like, look at all the pumpkins. I mean, they were admiring all what the kids were doing. And they're like, who did this? And I'm like, our aftercare program. And actually one of the students, she's like, well, this is my school. And she was telling her mom, she's like, I want to go to Cub Club in the afternoon and paint pumpkins. So, I mean, I think once it's established and people see and hear what we're doing with the kids, I mean, it does have that space to grow. And going back to the resourcefulness, I mean, I had a year. I mean, most of everything that I have right now was donations. I mean, I put a year into looking for games and things like that. And pretty much a lot of what we have right now was all donated. I just put in an order for Amazon, but I mean, here we are at the end of October and these kids have had plenty of supplies up until now that I was able to find for free. People were willing to help out.
I'm glad it's a success. I do have one quick question. You said that you have 2 students and 1 adult. Is it possible, and I could be wrong, Ms. Saint Germain can probably correct me, community service hours, would it be possible for students to volunteer at the program and get hours for that?
Or like an outside organization?
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, there's always opportunities.
I mean, I think that would be great to open it up to more. Yeah. But I think it would be great to open it up to maybe the students to volunteer to get their community service hours to come over and help with the kids and
Oh, yeah,
get more help over
absolutely.
there.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and I actually have a volunteer sheet that I created. I ran it by Troy because I did have one student that was coming in. He came in a couple times and volunteered the time. So I do have that where I logged the hours and the dates and signed off that they were there and they volunteered their time, and I have all that on file.
So this is awesome to see. I was probably one of the biggest skeptics of the program, so I'm really excited to see that it appears to be going well and is going to be successful. Kudos to Jamie for keeping it going. I just have a couple of really quick questions. Moving into the winter now, maybe this is more directed at Rob. Space needs are going to become more challenging. Do you see any obstacles with this or any issues with gym space, things like that, typically our schools need to use that gym for?
Right off the bat, I don't, just kind of looking at the calendars and how their schedule lines up. So they pretty much always have the space at the cafeteria. It's pretty much free. It's the gym where we run into the most issues. So
Okay.
we're able to take our homework club and that usually goes to the classroom. So I think the cafeteria is at least a safe space that she'll always get to have.
Okay, fantastic. And then for full days, like field trips, how are we doing transportation? What would your plan be for that and how would that be funded?
We're using the money that we have currently, and we did reserve a bus through
Okay.
the bus garage.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. And then are we needing additional staffing on those full days from our staffing, or you're able to handle a full day with just your 3 people?
I have 4 in total.
Okay.
So I have 3 high school students that work with me and 1 adult.
Okay.
They're all very enthusiastic. They're they keep how are our numbers because they know that I stay within that 10-to-1 ratio. So
Okay.
they all want to go on this field trip. So it's going to be a hard decision as
Yeah.
to who's going to come on the field trip with me and who is not.
Okay.
But no, I mean, definitely I have the staffing
Okay.
to run it.
Okay, perfect. I think that's my only question. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for running a great program.
Thank you.
Student ambassadors, do you have any questions or comments for Deb?
Not really. I've already heard about it through like my friends and stuff. I'm pretty sure one of them does it, or if not, she's just over at the elementary school because she's in the pathway. But it sounds like a really good thing, and it would be nice to have more high school students involved. I think it would be great to form that kind of
Mhm.
connection because our schools are so close, but you don't really, have that kind of connection. And I think it'd be good. Almost like I know that we're doing that mentorship with the middle school, maybe kind of reaching out just like a little bit to the older elementary school so that way they're not so scared to come across the street.
Right. And I'm sure that's something that Miss Saint Germain and Miss Reyes and we can connect and, set something up where you guys can come over and come help out. I mean, that would be great.
Thank you, Deb, for coming in. I appreciate it. I know this is like the first time we've been like, come in and talk to us, but this is great. And we're excited. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, so am I. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Do I need to turn that off? Oh.
So we have student data next. I don't know, are all of you presenting? Okay, go for it.
Yeah, got it. All good. Okay. All right, great. So thank you everybody for coming tonight. We're going to present a little bit about our student data and some of the adjustments we've made this year already to that. So we'll be kind of flipping back and forth between this year and last year a little bit. But in my new role as Director of Instruction and Learning, we've definitely been able to come up with some ways to unite our buildings in terms of data and really do that work together. Next slide, sorry. Should have brought a clicker. So I had been in both buildings really looking at how we are assessing students and our SAT process, how we are helping students, how we're identifying them, and realized that we needed to kind of get together to share that information and have a baseline. So we created a district data team of our district administrators, interventionists, all of our counseling staff that are now getting together bi-monthly to review our data collection processes, discuss our universal screeners, different interventions, and really start to align our intervention processes and then share best practices so we can help our kids in the best ways possible and really use that as a think tank. So the data we review, since we are so small, we really get down to a student by student level in a lot of different ways, and we sit with a lot of this information. So in our professional learning communities, we'll evaluate data. So there is one right now for our AP teachers, and they'll sit with AP scores. They'll sit with what they're doing in the classroom to produce those scores. Our SAT teams are student assistance teams. So those are, if a teacher is concerned about a student academically, they'll bring them forward. The team will review all of their information on their assessments. Student concerns teams meet to really discuss student social emotional concerns or any concerns that teachers might have in that way and how we can support them. Grade levels meet together pretty regularly, especially at the middle school level, to discuss student data. There's attendance committees. The full faculty has spent time really digging into our accountability index as well. Our departments are looking at PSAT and SAT data constantly, and our interventionists have been really data mining over the last kind of couple of months, especially to come up with some really new and innovative ways to get our students to engage more in what can be a tedious process and that skills practice. So some of the measures we're using right now, we started to really dive into IXL, which is a tool that we've had for a number of years, but we haven't explored as much of the functionality. So we brought a rep in, we sent 2 people to PD, and we've discovered that there is a lot that can be done for our students, that it is a program that will adjust based on how often they're on it and how their universal screeners are. So it meets them where they're at and then comes up with skill plans that are unique to them. And a lot of kids really enjoy it. There's like little games and things that can be brought into the classroom too. The QRI, Amira, which Rob will talk about, is a state mandate for this year. Teacher data at the classroom level are SBA scores, NGSS for science, and then SAT and PSAT are kind of all of our indicators that we're talking about a lot. So that's how we're kind of screening kids and getting their initial baselines.
Actually, one more. The first, before I go into this, I can't say enough about the addition of Kim Haggerty as that curriculum instruction piece. It is the piece that I think has put this puzzle together. We were able to take things so far, but her being at the top of that and being the liaison for all of these different groups has, I know I'm not saying anything Rob and Allison wouldn't agree with, has been really what we've needed. So we're so grateful, and we hope that we can continue to talk about the value of that position, because all of this is happening because of that last leg that we've now put in place. So I just can't thank her enough for how far she has already taken us. So at Wheeler, we really spend a tremendous amount of time talking about the whole student. Data is great, but there's lots of different pieces of data. It's not all about academics. It's about social emotional. There's a lot of things. So for your the presentation tonight, we decided to kind of showcase what we're doing, but within the district goal realm, so you can see that work and how it's laying out. So last year, some of the things that I feel like we're very proud about that came out of last year. Within the school building, we now have a Wheeler Diversity Council, and it's not just focused on sports like the larger ECC one. It's now a group of students that are looking at equity and looking at things within our school that they'd like to change. So that came out of last year. The mentorship work that Anna has talked about started last year when we started to match up some high school students with some of our middle school students, and we saw something really worth pursuing. And next week, we are about to kick off a huge mentorship program that we're hoping will last for quite a long time and really support some of our middle school students who need it for academics and that social emotional part. Middle school programming, last year, we really have spent a lot of time trying to pull our middle school out of that high school model that they sort of get pushed into a little bit, being a 7-12 school. So we've done a lot of work last year that is going to continue this year to really reinforce those really important life skills that we want our middle schoolers to be practicing as often as possible. Allison and I have grade level admin meetings every single quarter with every single class. And we talk about what's on their mind, what's important, what are those things we need to review. We will continue to do that. We started that after COVID, and we have found that it has been a nice way to stay in touch with our school community outside of meetings and things where we see them in the halls. It's just a much tighter connection. The work with Naviance that we're doing, it goes all the way down to middle school, SSPs, career inventories. The college process is just one part of Naviance. So we're really, I'm going to say this again and again, it is a pretty much 50-50 split. We're starting to see that happen, and it's sticking. We have kids that are taking gap years. They're not going to college right out of high school. They want work experience. So we're really trying to keep that going. Innovative instruction. Tonight, you're going to see a different student ambassador report, and you're going to hear a little bit about that from our ambassadors. But our middle school world language, we're offering credit now to middle school students in a world language. We are really working on our physical fitness by building in that fitness component to every lesson that they have, so that it's not just it's time for the mile, here we go, why can't we run it, right? So the PE department has worked really hard to increase that rigor in fitness so that it's a part of their everyday programming. The pathway opportunities that you already heard about. I am so excited there are education pathway kids working in that program. Those kids are also getting 60 hours in the elementary classroom for credit. So these are kids that thought they wanted to be teachers. Now the pathway is reinforcing, this is definitely what I want to do. And now they're applying to colleges for that career. So it's been a nice perk for us. Our NEIT students started October 1st. They are off and running. They literally drive to Rhode Island every day, and they go to high school at NEIT. They're fulfilling their credit requirements for us. And at the same time, they are getting degrees in mechanics, automotive, and a young lady is actually doing veterinary science as tech, starting at the tech level. So very exciting things, I think very different, unique ways to really reach all our kids. And then transparent, efficient, we have parent forums 3 times a year. They're growing in population. We couldn't be more excited. People are actually coming and they're getting a lot of information that they are afraid to ask sometimes, but that is a great platform for them to do that. Our BOE student ambassador program, this guy's here, he doesn't even have to be. I kind of love that. They are on it. They are coming to us and getting this information to come report to you on. But I hope tonight you're going to see they're going to do a little bit more than they usually do. And then our tuition movement. Tomorrow, I'm going to Preston with 2 Preston students, former Preston students now, Wheeler students now, and we're going to present to their 8th graders, but we are up to 33 students right now at Wheeler. So, and I think it's going to keep growing. So I know 40 is what we talked about, but we'll see. We'll see. Next slide. I'm very proud of this number. When I started at Wheeler, we weren't even on the radar of US News and World Report because of our size. We just weren't even considered. We are actually 36 in Connecticut. Out of the 17,000 something schools in the country, we're like 1,600. So I'm pretty proud of that because this is a big part of college readiness. It's still very important that those kids who are going to college are prepared. And we're really trying to make sure that we're doing that at the same time, fostering an environment for kids who want to go into the workforce. Next slide. I want to talk a little bit about data. So there's SBAC, there's all these other little pieces that Kim talked about. High schools in this region are actually evaluated a little bit differently on an accountability system. It is not just test scores. So I know there's a lot up there, but if you look to the left side, we have test scores are on there, how they actually achieve, how much they grow from year to year. And then under that, you have attendance. You have how prepared are students out of that 9th grade year? How many are actually hitting that 6.5 credit mark and they're ready to continue and they're on track to graduation? Access to the arts, physical fitness, 4-year, how many are actually graduating in 4 years versus 6 years? On track. AP scores. So there's 2 indicators. One is just, are you taking an AP? And another indicator is, did you actually get college credit in your AP class? So we really try to, everything we do is more of a holistic look at how kids are achieving in those areas. We're up and down, but I do think we do very well. I will point out, we get a little shortchanged in the accountability index because we're a 712 school. So we might be compared to Stonington, but Stonington doesn't have any middle school data in their index. We do because we have middle school students. There's 3 of us, I believe, Westbrook, who am I forgetting? Parish Hill. There's 3 of us though that have that middle school data that changes our rating. I mean, if you pulled it out, our number would go up drastically, but it's okay because when you pull out that middle school information, you look at how our kids are doing, they're doing very well, but it's just not really an apples to apples comparison, but it's still a good kind of source for our staff to know that every single teacher at Wheeler has a role in this. So it's not just English and math, and not science, it's everybody. And I kind of like that. And our teachers are very aware of that. And we bring this to them so they understand it and they know what their role is.
Next slide. Yep. So here are our scores for, there we go, our 7th and 8th grade last year, ELA and math. Just a reminder, we compare ourselves in this to our DERG and to other ECC schools that we talk about that we compete against athletically. So that's where we stood. Obviously, the yellow highlighted is the state, the percent that scored at a 3 or 4. And then next to that is just the total amount, which I think is really important to look at, the total number of students taking it. So also remember, because we're small, 1 student can mean 2%, right? So on any year, 1 student, we're talking 3 students, we could go up 6% in that one category. So important to think about. And then I know Kim touched on this, but we truly in the beginning of the year, look at student data by each individual student. So we look at this obviously, but we look at every single student, and that's how we are identifying our intervention groups based on each student, looking at, did they grow? How much did they grow by? Did they obviously, go back? But we're looking at all of our students and not just, the percent that's at the 3 or 4, because we are so small, which I think we do with all of our data, not just the state data. Next one shows our NGSS for 8th grade and 11th grade, where we fell last year. And then our SAT. So that is our school day SAT, which students take at the end of their junior year. We also offer the PSAT every year leading to that, which all schools do not do. We offer that 9th, 10th, and 11th grade in the fall so that they take that. And then juniors take the SAT at the end of their junior year. And that's how we fell last year. Lots of opportunity. And then we are doing a lot in the classroom. So in the math and English classrooms, we do have a plan in each of the classrooms and just how we are helping students prepare for this, just so they obviously see some of the questions. It is online now, big change. Last year they started it. Now it's completely digital. The kids love it. Last year, you know, it was interesting, but of course they love it. The feedback was they love it. The English portion, it highlights things for them. It's actually, as you'd imagine, they'd rather be online than do a paper test right now. So that definitely went well. Science department also just add our 7th and 8th grade, now both using STEM scopes. We have for a couple of years, and now 6th grade is this year. So, and then the high school, we're constantly looking at hands-on approach. We do very well, as you see up there, in GSS, but I think it really connects to what we're doing in our classrooms. 3 of our high school teachers are 7th and 8th grade, truly hands-on. Anytime you walk by, students are active, they're engaged, they're doing activities, they're doing labs. So. Go ahead. Next slide. Oh, one more, sorry, physical fitness. So our 8th grade and high school last year also. So our high school we do in 10th grade. That's when we test them. And we choose to do the mile run. So the 8th grade and the 10th grade, you can either give the pacer test or the mile run. Hard to see, but those are our scores from last year. You know, you can see how we did. The hard part is it is one day that we choose to do the mile run that we are testing them. They do leading up to that, as Kristen mentioned, that every single PE class spends the first 20 to 30 minutes doing fitness now. So where they are doing that, they actually track it on a card. So the PE teachers have them track their sit-ups, their push-ups, and either if we're inside, they do the pacer in the gym. And if they're outside, they do 1 lap and then 2, they kind of increase that of how many laps they're doing. And they're keeping track of that data leading up until when we take this assessment. So that was added after COVID. We've been doing that for 2 years now in the PE classes, just to get more fitness in before they then go into the unit or the activity that they're working on for that unit. So. And that's it.
Next.
Next slide. Oh,
And we're
stop. Stop.
up and down. Up and down. They love
Yeah.
that mile.
A mile.
The miles gets a bad rap. I can start talking about the data on the next slide while he's trying to.
AP.
Yes, it's AP data. Well, I can just tell you this, over the last 5 years, the number of students that are taking AP courses continues to increase. And there you go. But what's most impressive to me is, you know, we're a small school. We run what we run, but we run quite a lot, I think, for a small school. But if you look at that number, the percent of total AP students with scores of 3 or higher getting that college credit, if you look from year to year, we're up to 75%. So just something really to be proud of. I think we continue to provide opportunities for students who are on that college track, who do want to get that credit, who do want to, you know, enter college with some of that credit taken care of. So we continue to do very well, and we continue to offer the ones that I really feel are important. We are open to that changes year to year. We run some every other year. So what you're seeing now, just those are the ones from last year, but they do change. We added AP Psych a couple of years ago, so we continuously look at, are there more that we could offer to our students? Next slide. And then last, just, you know, we always look at data for a lot of reasons, but mostly because we really want to continue to make changes that allow our students to be successful. So this particular couple changes that I want to highlight, the changes to our SRBI program, which is now referred to as Flex. We're switching to a flexing support in middle school. So instead of kind of putting kids in and having them stay there for a certain amount of time because this is the scheduled time, we're moving kids more based on what we're seeing. And we're, like Kim had mentioned earlier, the universal screeners using the IXL, and we're tracking the tier 1 interventions that are happening. The biggest shift that's happening this year, our interventionists are now delivering all tier 2 and 3 math and ELA instruction, whereas last year that was falling on the shoulders of our classroom teachers. But we made that shift for consistency. so that we are doing, we're giving kids the same content, and our interventionists are taking that lead. They're having data meetings, and they're really looking at that movement kids are making. The data is reviewed by teams every 8 weeks to determine those needs and to continue to move kids as it's appropriate. That win block that we have during the flex for kids who are not in interventions is that innovative instruction that we keep talking about, and how we're doing that, whether it's through choice boards, using executive functioning practice, skill-based practice, extra help. Part of the restorative work we're doing with our middle schoolers during that time, they're going to receive some of that support they need for social emotional work that they need throughout the school year. So, and that is academic and for their social emotional growth. So I think these are all movements that happen when we look at data and we say, okay, it's working, but what can we do even more? What can we do better? So we're constantly moving that mark because we don't want to be stuck. We want to keep it going. We want to keep hitting as many kids as we can, helping them get to where they need to be as learners. So I'm excited most about that restorative work we did all those years ago. It is happening every day. Teachers are using it in their classrooms. We are using it in the office. So you hear all that data about suspending kids doesn't do anything. It doesn't in isolation, right? If you just do that and you bring them back and there's no work being done, the work that the teachers in this district are doing, it's not just about the consequence, it's both. It's what are the work that you're willing to do to put yourself back in that situation and grow from the mistake that you made. I think we've seen a lot of change in our school because of it. And a lot of kids are buying in and realizing that when they make a mistake, it's not over. They can pick themselves back up and they can do better the next time. And we're really seeing that start. It's taken a couple of years, but we're really starting to see the benefits of that work. I think you're up. Next slide. Yep.
So it's elementary schools for now. That's a tough act to follow. Kristen always is. So next slide, chat, please. All right. So of course, we'll look at the same kind of data here, and we're looking at from our district-wide goals. So safe, value, sense of belonging. We too continue our restorative practices work on a regular basis. We have our teachers doing morning meetings all the time, circle time when there's issues on the playground or issues within the classroom that need to be addressed. That's how teachers are addressing it. I'm doing the same thing in the office with discipline issues. So just as Kristen said, it's not just about giving a consequence, but it's about what else are we going to do to kind of right the wrong that we've done. We're a school community, and we try to be very matter of fact about that this is a community. We're kind of a family here. So now that we've done something, how can we make this right? How can we fix this relationship and repair it to move on? So that work is continuing. I highlight here, we're very excited that band has returned last year to North Stonington Elementary School. Grades 5 and 6, you'll see on a later slide now that we've actually increased that more with our new band director, Mr. Sanders, and we've actually lowered that down to 4th grade. And speaking to him today, I believe we have about 25 students who've signed up, which is awesome because we were down, I think, around 10 or 9 last year. So we're really happy that band is back. I did want to highlight about our drama club. We had over 80 students take part in drama club and or our talent show, which is the second year that we've done our talent show. We're going to do that again this year. But to me, that is such a telling number. That's almost 1/4 of our kids that have reached out that want to take part in this event. And it is a huge commitment. I'm sure the parents know it's twice a week at least. They're late pickups. They're rehearsing their scripts and their lines, and it's a lot. It really is. They have to do their readings. We just got through the casting for Aladdin Jr. And the kids were coming in the office during their lunchtime, during the recess times to do a reading with another student and Miss Gonzalez so that she could evaluate them. They take it to heart. And so it's a great thing that goes on, but I just think it's so important that so many of our kids are taking part in that. We reinstituted town meetings. That was something that was done before I got here. And then with COVID, it never kind of came back. So last year we started our town meetings again. Our plan this year is to do 3. We did 2 last year. And with each town meeting, we'll focus on respect, responsibility, resiliency, our 3 goals that we have for our school. We hosted approximately 60 veterans for our Veterans Day celebration last year. And we plan to do that again this year. I've given everybody your invite, so hopefully you guys can attend. We were really proud of that. And that was really a joint effort with more than just our school, because also from the high school, the Good News Club had volunteers come over and they helped serve the veterans, help see them, help chat with them. This year, we're going to have Mr. Sanders is going to be over doing some of the instrumental stuff for us. So we're really looking forward to a nice celebration again. But I think this is just a great community connection that we get to make. And then our teachers continue to implement our second step program lessons on a regular basis. In terms of innovative instruction, so for last year, we made our big switch to our new reading program. As a lot of you remember, that was kind of mandated by the state. We had to pick one of 5. So our K1 and 2 teachers all did training in the science of reading. We've implemented a new intervention model in that K and 1. And what we looked at is really more of a push-in model where we kind of take an all hands on deck approach. And so for each, in the kindergarten and in grade 1, for each teacher, they would have the classroom teacher in there. They would have a paraprofessional in there and an interventionist, so that we can just take a bunch of groups of kids, work with them as they need, with the idea that if we can intervene strong enough in K and 1, hopefully by the time we get to second grade, we're really talking that our tier 1s are really meeting the needs of that 80% like they're supposed to. And we only have about maybe 20% of our kids who are needing that tier 2 and that tier 3 support. So that's kind of what our hope is with that. And we saw good success with it last year. Last year, we had 12 students took part in our advanced math program. So this was something new that we started last year. Again, with the idea that they could take 6th grade and half of 7th grade content in 6th grade, then they could finish 7th and 8th in 7th grade, and then be ready for geometry. So we're kind of starting that advanced track into mathematics for high school, but only at the elementary level. We've seen a strong increase in our fitness scores, so we'll see that in a minute. And then we also began piloting some new math materials last year. So some teachers tried some different units within the illustrative math and the Bridges programs. And then for transparent and efficient, I copied Kristen St. Germain because she really knows what she's doing. So I started a parent advisory last year. We had 3 meetings. We tried to focus on test results. We focused on our new math program, and we focused on our ELA work. But then they're also open that parents can come and they can bring in any concerns or questions that they've had. We've had some really good discussions around school safety. We have our first parent advisory for this year scheduled for next Thursday, Halloween. So dress up if you want to come. We have our regular school improvement team meetings. And with the parent feedback from that, we do have 2 parents that represent on that board with us right now. And then our parent feedback that from our survey that we sent out last year was really drove a lot of what went into our school improvement plan for this year, 24 and 25. And then finally, we had the creation of a district literacy team. This is through an initiative through one of the state grants that we got, which helped pay for our reading supplies and some professional development that we've done. So we do have a district literacy team now that is working its way through different facets of reading the whole literacy work. It really focuses much more on the elementary level, but we do have a couple of high school people on there as well, so that we can have kind of that through line. And this work will continue. We're really going to be focused a lot on assessment this year. What assessments are we giving? What information are we getting from those assessments, and how are we using that? Next slide, Chet. And so here's our next generation accountability. This is for 22-23, so not for our most recent year. You can see that obviously we don't have everything on here that at the high school level. And as you look at this, what it says to me is that we've done a really great job with our math performance index, that we really need to do a little bit more work with our high needs students in terms of that ELA and the mathematical growth, especially the ELA growth. But overall, we have some good numbers. One of our biggest hurts is our chronic absenteeism for both high needs and all students. And that's something we've tried to address this year. We did put a plan in place last year. So hopefully when this comes out for the past year, our numbers will look a little better with our morning recess, because we did see some better numbers than this. But that's an area for us to work on, and we're continuing to work on that. And then our physical fitness scores, again, which I think Ms. Perkins has done some nice work on, and I'll talk about that in a second. Next slide. So here is our achievement data for 23-24, and we're looking at grade 3 ELA math, grade 4 ELA and math. I can't speak enough of how proud I am of the work that's going on with our students, with our teachers, with our paraprofessionals, with everybody in the building who's contributing to our kids doing such a great job at achieving. Just the scores, I think, speak for themselves, and where we fall in our Durham and our surrounding areas. I think everybody's doing a great job. Next slide, Chad. And here's grade 5 ELA math science and our grade 6 ELA in math. So again, really scores to really be proud of. I can't say enough about the work that everybody's doing to contribute to this, especially the children, the families as well, with the support that we get from them. That's what makes this happen. We can go to the next slide, chat. Thank you. And our physical fitness. So you can see that while the numbers aren't staggering for the all test for grades 4 and 6, you can see a definite noted increase of 20% for grade 6 and a little bit less than 15% for grade 4. What really stands out to me is the number of students now who have really competed that mile run. So if you look at just the mile runs for grades 4 and grade 6 for the last two, and that's really a testament to the work that Ms. Perkins is doing in the classroom. So like they do at the middle school and high school, when they go in there, that, yeah, her run club is humongous. I don't know how she does run club, but you know, they're in there and they're doing work. So you go in there, the kids are doing wall sits and they're doing their push-ups. This is how they're starting their day. Ask your children, they know what an AMRAP is, an AMRAP workout. That's what Mrs. Perkins has them doing. So it's really good stuff, but it's really paying off. And our kids did do the mile run this year. That's what was reported at the state. So they did a great job. So we're seeing some good growth in that. And hopefully that again will impact that our index on that score. But just again, really a lot to be proud of here. Thank you. So some adjustments that we're making here as a result. So we're continuing our meetings by grade levels every 8 weeks. So we're on a schedule. So that's the way our SAT team works is that we assign grade levels. So each grade level will go through a cycle. So today we had grade 6 and 3 were in there. Next week, I think we have grade 2. So we keep cycling through that way. We do have new universal screeners that Kim alluded to. We are using the IXL for math, and we also use it for reading in grades 4, 5, and 6, as well as the QRI. And then we have Amira. Amira is a program through HMH. And one of the things that the state kind of mandated was that they wanted to see a certain universal screen for all students in grades K through 3. And they gave a few different choices of what you could use. You know, you could use some of the Ames web testings. There's some other options. But it really varied from grade level to grade level, depending, and skill to skill. So the Amira is a computer program, and this actually ticked all the boxes. So we made the investment and we purchased this program. It's on the computer. It actually listens to the students read, so they have to wear a microphone as they're doing their screener. It allows the teachers to go back and hear the students read afterwards. It gives them the passage. It tells them where they noticed errors. If it thinks that it wasn't getting a good read because of background noise or something, it will tell the teacher, you should retest this child and listen to them read themselves, but it'll still kind of give you a score. So it's just one screening tool and we're supposed to use it. So we're using it, but any red flags that we see in this, we have our interventionists and our teachers are then drilling down deeper with the tests that we using, like the Tower test or, the district spelling assessment and things like that. So we do drill down even further than just this universal screen. We're continuing to use that flexing support from interventionists in K-1. And thanks to board support, we were able to get 3 paraprofessionals at that K-1 level. So each grade level can have a para assigned or in K-1, each classroom, and have a para assigned for that intervention. So it's ongoing, it's consistent, it's the same person, they're knowing the children, they're knowing the program, they're knowing what's going on in the classroom. All students receiving tier 2 and tier 3 supports from interventionists are reviewed by the SAT team each cycle. That's just good practice. And we added a second SAT 2, we call it. And this is really looking at behavioral, social, emotional concerns. It's similar to the program that they're using at the middle school, high school. And what we're trying to do is just try to if we can put supports in place a little bit quicker. We have a BCBA now, again, thanks to the Board of Ed. So we're hoping that we can get more supports in place for students who have that, if it's just behavioral need or that ability to attend, whatever it might be. We want to be able to keep the kids in the classroom for as much as possible. So the addition of this SA2 team is hopefully something that's going to address that and be able to allow us to do it. Next slide. I think this is my last one. So just again, so expansion of our tier 1s, because tier 1 is really the most important. It happens for everybody. It happens in the classroom, and we really need it to meet the needs of 80% of our kids in order to really be efficient. So we're looking at more efficient ways of tracking those teacher-led tier one interventions and trying to house that data and make it more accessible for everybody to be able to see on the SAT teams, but also easier for the teachers to do and use. We're continuing with our teacher PD. And again, I'm going to reiterate what Kristen said about the work that Kim has done to really align this. You're probably seeing a lot of consistencies between Wheeler and North Stonington Elementary. And a lot of that has to do with the work that Kim's doing to really, again, she's up here kind of taking that district-wide approach for it. And we're able to have conversations where I can find out what's kind of going on in the middle school and high school, and can kind of help me direct what we're doing at the elementary school so that we're kind of all falling in lockstep. So it's really been great. So we're continuing with science of reading training now for grades 3 through 5, even though as we get up in grades 4 and 5, the science of reading applies less to them. But we do think it's important for us they're working with emerging readers and those struggling students within their classroom, kind of understanding where this philosophy is coming from. We're doing training work with the Hill for Literacy. We were able to purchase professional development with them through a grant. And so the work that they're doing is work with the district leadership team, but then they're also working with classroom teachers. They're doing some in-person coaching. They're assisting one of my literacy specialists to be a coach as well, so that we can provide an ongoing support, not just this year, but down the road. So as the new teachers get hired and need to learn this inter-reading program or need to learn about the science of reading, we'll have an in-house person trained who's ready to assist them. And then we're using a couple of new programs. We have Bridges in Math, which is very hands-on. It's an exciting math program. It's a lot. Our teachers have been working really, really hard, especially with this program. There's a lot of prep work. It incorporates a part of the morning meeting where they do mathematics work, where they learn about calendars and patterns and money and things like that, along with just the regular math lesson itself. But this is a very much more hands-on problem centered approach. It's a lot more conversation in class. The kids are up and about. They're doing math. They're not just sitting there listening and practicing math, but they're actually doing math. And then we'll continue with our HMH into reading and the training that we have going on there. And as I had kind of alluded to with one of our interventionists providing coaching, but we also have both of our math interventionists at this point helping and coaching teachers through this new math program because it is new for them. So they're modeling lessons. They're helping them plan for it. They're talking them through lessons, looking at the student data, seeing what we need to be able to do next in order to best keep our kids moving forward. And I think that's all I have. I think. Is that it? That's right. All right. So we'll take any questions. Did you have a son? Did you want to?
No, I'm good.
Oh,
I'm good.
okay.
Do you all have questions or comments for our administrators?
I have a comment. As somebody who has 4 students in my house that go some in each of your schools, you guys do an amazing job with them individually. Each of them have their strengths, each of them have their weaknesses, and they have unlimited support from all of you. So thank you guys for what you do for our students.
I feel like especially within the past 2 years, there's been like a huge shift in like how the materials taught in class. Like it's less based on like remembering what we're being taught and more like how we're applying it, which is really good because it's like it's not as much pressure to like memorize and study everything, especially for like finals and midterms. And it's like it takes a lot of weight off of like us as students as like as long as we know how to use the material that we're learning, we can always figure out something to put down instead of just leaving nothing on the paper, which has always been a problem. And even as far as like SAT prep goes, like I could not, I mean, not that my scores were amazing, but I could not have been more prepared to go into the SAT. Like I was never that nervous to go in because like Miss Colley worked with us like multiple times a week where we would just do a few questions and like there was always, I was never like felt uneasy going into it, like not knowing what to expect. It was always the exact same stuff we were practicing. And then even with the quarterly check-ins that Miss St. Germain was talking about, I love the quarterly check-ins. I don't know. I think they're awesome because it's like it's good to hear what admin and other teachers are noticing that we're trying to put more effort into and also bring into our attention like what we need to work on, because sometimes it's stuff like that we don't even know is an issue that we're doing, but when they bring it up to us, it's a good way for the students to be aware like what we're doing well and what we need to work together to improve. Like even about cell phones was a thing before, and like I mean, even like one person thinking like, oh, my cell phone not being in the pocket doesn't matter. But like when they bring it to our attention, it helps us like be more aware of what we can do together as students to improve what's going on in the school. Yeah.
I just, seeing it district wide, pre-K through 12 is awesome because I can remember years back when it was silos. And so this is to see this work and the consistency and having it just, it's so exciting and really, really amazing what you guys are doing. Having a child now that's gone off to college, I will say the academic readiness is fantastic. There's a lot of times where she's like, my chem teacher is nothing like Mrs. Wellborn. Like, so it's really great. A couple of quick questions. Do you see any kind of movement away from the SAT now that it really isn't required, as like a lot of schools
That's
won't
why-
even take it? Okay.
I don't know how to turn.
When it's red.
So they're bringing back like scores were, optional. That was a big thing after COVID. They're starting to return. So
Okay.
I think you'll continue to see changes within the SAT exam and the actual assessment like have happened over the years, but
Uh-huh.
it's going to be back in that process more than it was before.
Okay, because I
Yep.
know a lot of times we couldn't even put it in.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
all right. And then my other question is, this is more of just a random question, but like you talk a lot about the gap year and like, what are we doing for like the college expectation versus just the academic piece, but what's college really like? Because I think in talking to Madison and a lot of her friends, that was really not expected. And maybe that's just the way it is. And then what are we doing to make that gap year kind of productive instead of just a year off to?
Yeah. Most people are not just taking a year off. They are actually traveling. They're getting jobs. They're taking a couple courses and working, and they're doing different things. Part of that NEASC work that we did 10 or 11 years ago, those academic expectations that we talk about, analysis, collaboration, cooperation, our social civic ones, all of them are not designed for the college student. They're designed for all students, whether they're going to go to college, whether they're going to take a year off, whether they're going to go into the workforce. The difference, we're actually measuring their growth in those areas, where before it was just, yeah, it's in everything we do, right? This is what we do. Now we're actually measuring it. So those rubrics that you've probably for 6 years are going, what is this? What does this mean? That's the work we've been doing to get anyone ready for whatever it is they're going to do. I'm not hearing about a lot of kids just taking the year off.
Okay.
I'm hearing more that they're trying new experiences. They're looking into jobs that they might want to go to college for, but they're too afraid to commit to college and spend $80,000, and they want to learn if that's something they want to do, which I think the pathway programs that we brought are so helpful. Like the 3 girls that are in the pathway right now, I don't think they thought they were going to do this. They said, well, I'll try it. I'll see what it's like. All 3 of them. I'm going to be a teacher. This is definitely what I want to do. So I think as many times that we expose kids to these opportunities, the more prepared they'll be. And I think the pre-K 12 has been like amazing. And I've been here. Yeah, I've been here. No, Allison, you've been here longer. It hasn't happened, and it is happening. And it's been really nice to have that support right down from the bottom up. So, and I think the kids
Awesome.
feel it. So
Yeah. No, you guys are doing a great job. Thank you so much. We're just so proud to be part of this district and really, and Kim, really fantastic work. Thank you for everything.
Other questions or comments?
So I just wanted to say that, seeing student data when I walked into the room and I made the comment, oh, so we're going to see the SBAC scores tonight, because it's the first thing I always think of. This was such a better presentation of what's going on in our school system and was so fun to look at. I love seeing it set up with the 3 goals. I loved having it in a way that was fitting into an overall vision. It was an awesome presentation. Thank you all. I have some weird little questions. Star is out altogether at this point. So
So I can take that one. We were having a lot of technical difficulties with STAR. And it was kind of tripping up our testing dates and things like that. And we had always been paying for STAR and IXL. So we met and went through both of our assessments, and we decided that IXL might be a better fit because of the functionality it has in the classroom as well. It's not just that one assessment. I can use it and do a group jam with the class. I can kind of assign things. We figured we could just get more bang for our buck.
Don't get me wrong. I'm thrilled
Yep.
that Star is
Oh
gone.
yeah, no,
I
that's
think
the
reading
thinking
Star
behind it.
scores was the most confusing and frustrating thing to ever do. So
I added to it too.
I love that being gone. And then you talked about Hill for Literacy. And I'm just not familiar with them as a group. Is that a group that's coming in and working, or it's a company that's doing virtual stuff, or what exactly is that?
Yeah, so a little bit of both. So when we got the Right to Read grant through the state, one of the requirements was that we had to do the science of reading training and some additional training, and that was all run through Hill for Literacy.
Okay.
So they're not based in Connecticut. I can't remember offhand exactly where they are, but so they were hired by the state of Connecticut to do this training, and it was for all administrators, anybody who'd got this grant. So there's, I mean, probably 50, 60 districts, that are doing the same training that we have, and that's just in one cohort. But it turned out that I happened to know somebody personally who worked for them. So when I reached out, I said, "What kind of work do you guys do?" And so she'd mentioned there were some things they could do to help support. So we looked into it, and then we did some work with Kim. We talked about, would this work? What do you think? We talked with our interventionist. So they are an outside group. They do, so when we do like our district literacy team meetings that they facilitate, those are virtual. They do coaches meetings with Heidi, and those are virtual, but then they come in once a month, and they'll do meetings with every grade level for ELA. They'll meet with all the teachers, and they'll do like a planning around a focus. Like this month, we looked at main idea in a text whole group lesson. And then she comes back a month later after that, and then she does classroom visits and coaching. So she provides feedback to the teachers, and then is kind of training Heidi how to do that as well. So she'll meet with one of the teachers, and then Heidi will meet with the other 2 grade level teachers separately and do like the same type of coaching with them. So again,
So
it's
setting it up to be
sustainable
within the school district.
within,
Awesome.
within our district.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to just let everybody know that what we're looking at in a lot of people's perspective is this district. And you're probably quite impressed by this presentation. But I need to let you know that in comparison to other schools, and I actually lead accreditation visits at other schools, this is outstanding. This is really top notch. The things that are happening, the professional practices in this district, the educational leadership, and what's going on within each classroom. And supporting the teachers in the classroom and the individual students and looking at their strengths and weaknesses and helping with that. It's like remarkable in comparison to what other districts have happening.
Other questions, concerns? So this particular presentation last year, I found to be the most helpful for me in terms of getting an understanding of what exactly is it that we're doing here. So I was really looking forward to it this year. Again, I have to say that this far exceeded my expectations. I used some of the stuff from your presentation all year when talking to the public, when talking to the Board of Finance about what it is that we're doing, because I think that your presentations really capture not only what we're doing, but what's the results of what we're doing. So this was spectacular tonight. And the idea that, Kim, you're taking such a huge role in the cohesion, in the direction that we're going, it's amazing. Our little tiny school has so much potential, and I feel like y'all really capture it. But perhaps for me, the most notable thing about this is that you talk about assessing everything that you're doing. It's all very intentional, but even the stuff that you're doing well, I hear you saying, and we're going to figure out a way to do it even better, because if there's one more kid that we can reach out to, one more kid that we could get to do something else, we want to do it. And I think that that's something I don't know a ton about what other schools are doing, but I've got to think it's pretty unique. I'm sure some of it has to do with our size, but I think probably the majority of it has to do with you all. So thank you so much. Well, now we're on to reports. Troy, you want to talk about your report?
Yeah, my report was in your packet, and there's a couple of things on there that we'll be discussing in more detail later. for example, the IT department and the capital plan. But I could take any questions on any of that, all those other things that are in there, if anybody has any.
Does your capital plan discussion include the transportation?
It includes the vehicles that were in the
Okay.
capital plan, yep.
Okay.
Any questions for Troy about his report? Okay, I'll move on to mine. We had our workshop on a Saturday in September. Several members expressed an interest in dropping down to one meeting a month. And because our schedule naturally sort of did that in October, November, December, that's what we're doing. We're going to reevaluate in January how many times a month we want to meet. And during that meeting, we discussed really focusing in on policy this year. And I think that there's a great plan to move forward with that. The Board of Finance is going to have me into their November meeting to review our monthly financials. Alex has his last meeting tonight. Alex leaving is going to create a vacancy on the board, a vacancy in the vice chair position, a vacancy on the capital committee, and on the facility and finance committee. I did ask Lisa Mazzella if she would be willing to join the facility and finance committee in Alex's place. She has accepted, and we'll have to address those other vacancies at our November meeting. So I hope to have a recommendation from the RTC about a candidate to replace Alex for the remainder of the term. And then we'd have to vote to approve that. I'd like to elect a vice chair and find a replacement for Alex on that capital committee. And because tonight is Alex's last meeting, I just want to talk a little bit about Alex. Sorry, Alex, it's just a little, I promise. So I learned that Alex was first elected to fill a vacancy on the Board of Education in November of 2013. He finished out that term, started a new term, and he became the vice chair in November of 2015. He's held that position since. I think that all of us that have served with Alex know that he's a valued member of the Board of Education, not just for his sort of commitment and dedication to the students and children of North Stonington, but also his innate ability to dig into financial reports in a way that I will never understand and will always wish to understand. So that is something I think that is a huge loss to us. I think we talked about that a little bit at our finance committee, that's we're all really going to miss that. Additionally, Alex, I think that that probably when thinking about you, people other than I probably think about your demeanor, you're calm, you're quiet, but you're decisive. And I am so appreciative of your support over the last year as I was trying to adjust to this new chair role. You were always there, quietly supportive of me, talking to me in between meetings, helping me to figure out how to do something, and sort of like reassuring me that everything's fine and everything's going to be okay. So Alex, thank you for your almost 11 years of dedication to the Board of Education and to the students of North Stonington.
Thank you very much. It's been totally worth it. No big speeches. Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time, it seems like, but it's all about the kids, obviously. And you know, your reports it's incredible. Like, I've watched the trends over the years, and you can't come close to what we're doing now. So keep it going and fight for whatever you need for funding and resources to kind of continue the success. I get, I'm proud like you don't believe to see the kids do as well as they do. So, good luck, and take it from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Does anybody else have anything they want to say to Alex or questions for me about my report?
It's for you, Steph. Just really quick. So we had the big workshop. Are we going to get any circling back on that? Any last thoughts? I just sort of feel like we walked away from that and now we haven't gotten anything by email or.
So the takeaways for me were Troy's goals, which he sent out to us, that we're going to try and this new meeting structure, drop down to those meetings, reevaluate in July. And then the focus of our, I'm sorry, January, not July. We're not going to reevaluate in July. And then the focus of our work this year is really going to be on that policy piece, and that Chet and Lisa, along with Troy, are sort of have a plan in place to do that. I know that we talked about larger capital items. I just don't think there's anything to circle back on yet about that. But if I'm missing something and you want it, I totally will look into it and circle back. Is there anything specific? Okay.
Steph, I'd like to chime in about
I
Alex.
think we kind of hinted at a little more communication, which I think we received some communication from you, Troy, which I appreciate. But yeah, just really having more kind of email for things that we don't necessarily need to bring up.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I feel like we haven't heard anything now for, I guess, even if, Steph, if you guys meet once a week, if we could get some kind of a review after your meeting of here's what we chatted about, even if it's nothing's going on, just to kind of have a sense that we know what's going on a little bit.
Sure.
you know?
Based on our meeting and Troy's vacation, we really didn't have a significant meeting except to set the agenda last week. And then we actually didn't meet today. So not a lot to report. I totally get that you want reports. I didn't really have anything. Lisa, do you have something?
Hi, yes, I just wanted to wish Alex well.
Lisa?
Can you hear me?
Where's Nicholas?
Can you hear me?
Do we perhaps not have the volume coming through something?
Brian, can you say something to let us know if the volume's working? Can you talk to us?
Hello?
It's good.
No.
It's really quiet.
He's still muted. Can you unmute him?
It's all good.
Oh, no.
Oh, can you hear me?
Okay. Is that on that box?
I know how to press start on Zoom. That's all I have to do.
Is it, the volume's up on the laptop?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can. Lisa, hi.
Oh, hello. Alex, I just wanted to wish you well and to thank you for your service to the Board of Ed over the last 11 years. You've been really a great role model and a great asset to us and the students. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm going to miss you, Alex. I really appreciate your perspective. And I think you always did a really good job, even bridging kind of when we may not have all agreed, or, it just
Agree to disagree.
agree to disagree. So you're going to be missed.
No, I will add, in the early years, it was very uncivil for what a lot of our meetings were. And I think, in my opinion, this is probably one of the best boards I've ever worked with over the years, and staff. You guys and the teachers, everything. It's really improved a lot, and keep striving for perfection. That's all I can say. Always look for opportunities for improvement, because it's always something that you can do to fix, get better, right? So no doubt, but you guys already know that. So.
I already begged you to stay and you said no, but we will miss you.
All right, thank you. Hi, student ambassadors. Do you want to give your report?
Okay, so this time we're gonna try to touch on like the district goals, but like from a student perspective, like what we're seeing in the school as far as the district goals. So goal 1 being sense of belonging. To us, that really just kind of means like the students and teachers connecting and getting along and like being able to work together in classes. So we had Spirit Week this week, actively, like right now we're still doing it, which is always fun because everyone gets together and kind of participates. It's like your grade's your team because you want to win. So everyone ends up working together, like whether you know it or not. And it's like a fun little competition within the school. And then we had the middle school dance on Friday, which I went, I don't know if I would say chaperone. chaperone, I guess. I don't know. So it was it was me and four other high school students, four other seniors, and it was awesome. I mean, I don't know if it's because I just love school dances in general, but it was so much fun. We had the gym open for volleyball and basketball. Mr. Denoto had a fire going outside for s'mores, and then the commons was like the dance floor, and the teacher set it, the teacher set it up as like it was like Halloween themed, and it was just so much fun. Like middle school's kind of an awkward stage where like I don't know, you're still finding like who you are and your friends and what like where like you're belonging kind of. So I don't know. I just throw myself out there because I'll embarrass myself to make other people come together, and it was just so much fun. Like got them all out dancing, taught them some line dances, and by the end of the night, it was like they were like inseparable. Like I mean, it was in the beginning, it was kind of like awkward little groupings going on that was trying to force them to play volleyball together, and by the end, they were like all out on the dance floor together. And I was like, I've never even seen all these kids get along. Like I see them arguing in the hallways, and I know, I mean, my sister's in middle school. I know they have their own problems, and they were just out there doing it. Was so cool to see. It was awesome. I loved that. Anyways, you want to talk about sports? Sorry.
So this year, all of our fall sports teams had qualified for the ECC tournament and the state tournament. So that's a awesome accomplishment for our school. And volleyball won their division. So that's a huge. That's about it. But I mean, looking at all the schools in our division and looking at how we get moved up, like for instance, cross country got moved up from D4 to Division 3. So competing with bigger schools and more competition, then that we can still stay in that is, I think, a very, very good thing, big accomplishment.
Okay. And then the staff is doing a drive for post-hurricane support. So there's delivery trucks around the area to deliver goods like paper towels and other household needs for states that were affected by the hurricane, which is awesome. And then the middle school is collecting items currently for the Wilson family because a lot of attention is going to the two brothers that were in the accident, obviously, but a lot of the times we like neglect the fact that they have two younger siblings too, that like unimaginable what they could be going through. So the middle school is collecting items for the sister in 8th grade, along with the younger brother in kindergarten, I believe. So they're doing that. And then Saturday is the tribute for the loss of Carson at St. B's, and they're asking people to wear red. The accident was definitely like a huge impact on not only Wheeler, but St. B's, Fitch, Griswold, Stonington, Grosso. Like the boys were involved with so many sports. I mean, they had been at a bunch of schools, and like even though they weren't actively at Wheeler, like you hear about them all the time. Like everyone's still friends with them. They have connections, and whether it was through sports or like being in classes with them, like they were definitely a big part of the community. So, yeah, and guidance has been openly available the entire time. Like they're calling out all the time. If anyone needs to come talk, please come down. So we definitely have a lot of support, but we're trying to do our part to help their family too. And moving on from that, the climate committee. So I went to my first climate committee meeting yesterday. Yeah, I think yesterday. And we talked about plans and like how we're trying to impact or influence the climate in Wheeler, because the climate, at least to me, the climate's definitely more important than the academics, because it's just hard for like the kids to learn and the teachers to teach if the climate's negative. Like you want it to be safe and positive, because that's how you can learn in a climate like that. So we were talking about like the mentoring program, which I think kind of started from like the whole girls supporting girls club that we had going on for a little bit, which was awesome because I loved the girls supporting girls club, and that was like a huge thing that I was like, I loved having like it was like an older sister at the time. I was like, oh, I'm so cool, I'm friends with this senior. And I think it's going to be awesome for the middle schoolers that don't have an older role model in their life to look up to. So yeah, that's going to be exciting. And then the diversity council it's bullying prevention month this month, October. So we were trying to brainstorm ways we could get kids more involved in the bullying prevention and not just like put it on the announcements or have a little lecture about it, because no one really pays attention to those after a certain amount of time. So we were like, how can we make this more involved and get kids more excited about it? So we came up with the idea of doing bullying prevention memes, which I know sounds kind of silly, but it gets kids' attention. Like as far as people our age and like in the middle school, like people are going to look at the memes on the wall because it's funny and it's relevant. So I think I made like 36 different bullying prevention memes that we're putting on flyers and posting around the school to try to get kids to pay attention and like read them and see how they can impact the climate. So those are going up currently. And I think we're going to try to keep them up for a while at least, just because we have so many, we can cycle them through and change them out. And then goal 2, innovation. We were just going to talk about a teacher that how their style has like been innovative during class and helped us like be more involved with the learning and interest in what's going on. So we're going to talk about Miss Wellborn this month. Yeah, James, you want to start?
Yeah, sorry. Miss Wilburn's great. We all know. Her class, I'm a junior, so I have her first this year, and I've heard a ton of students talking about it. You walk in there and she's on. Waste no time, and I love it. It's great. And I think with an 80-minute period, that doing that really helps get students just moving fast. And it's not just like you're sitting there taking notes. She's doing a new lab every class and talking through it. And if we are taking notes or talking, she'll take us outside, shade, sun, anything. And she has all these lawn chairs. She'll take us out, big circle. And I think that makes the 80 minutes go by super fast. And it's a great class. She's always very energetic. She's always in a good mood. I don't think I've ever seen her in a bad mood. But she's awesome. So I don't have any bad things or negative things to say about her. She's awesome.
She definitely, I don't know how she's always happy and like bubbly. Like she broke her arm or her wrist last year and she's like walking around the hallways dancing, throwing like grabbing papers. She's amazing. But she has like genuinely has a connection with like every single student. Like I don't know how she knows and remembers all of us and how we learn and what we need help with and how comfortable we are, but she's like so personable. She understands like from a teenage perspective that like it's hard to sit for 80 minutes and do notes, but we literally do something new every single class, whether it relates to like it all relates to what we're doing at the time, but like it keeps us interested because we know that each day is something new. Like James is right, like we might be taking notes, but we're going to do it outside so that everyone wants to be there and learn. And the labs are so much fun. Like I've never done labs like that ever. And I don't know, she's awesome. She will personally come over to every single person in our class, like throughout the class. At some point, she just randomly comes by and she asks like questions if she knows like what we're struggling with. Like she just knows when I'm struggling and I don't even tell her and I don't know how she knows. She just gets it and she's awesome. And yeah, she's amazing. Oh, I forgot. I think it's on.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they've kind of said everything, but I just think that she does a really great job of adapting to every single student's needs. And if there's something that you're struggling with, she will personally take the time to sit with you and talk you through it and try and do it your way and see, does it work? Why doesn't it work? Or, she just has this kind of positive energy surrounding science. And I've never been the fan of science. I am not a science person. I've never liked a science class besides this one. This one, it just honestly, I feel like I'm not doing science. It feels like it's just such a creative way of teaching us and making us excited about the periodic table, which I don't think is something I would have said before. But we had this one assignment where you're getting to learn the periodic table, and she asked us, what did we find the most fascinating? And I put that, mercury is a liquid at room temperature. So she came over and she was so excited about it, and she was telling me about all these other things, and I was excited to learn more about it. And I think that the way that she just has the ability to get everybody involved and excited and to understand the content is just amazing.
I've also never felt like I'm asking a stupid question in her class ever. I don't, and I do think I ask questionable questions sometimes. But
Yeah. She really clarifies to everybody that there's no wrong questions or bad questions. She did that at the beginning of the year. I think she makes everybody feel comfortable, especially chemistry can get tough. So she's very open to all questions and prompts everybody to make more and ask more questions. So that's definitely a positive.
So then as far as like goal 3 efficient processes, you can talk about the PSAT.
Yeah. So the PSAT last year was kind of a disaster online, to be perfectly honest. A lot of crashes, just it was a mess. Yeah, not just us, but nationwide. Yeah. But this year it was amazing. It went awesome. There was no issues with the internet. It went smoothly. And I think kind of previously doing the practices, all the teachers had us run through it, and I think that really helped it go a lot smoother. I think everybody knew what they were doing, and I know there's a lot of steps to it, and that definitely decreases stress in some students because I know it can be a stressful thing. And then on testing day makes it a lot easier. And then looking at attendance, we had a ton of students come in. I'm not sure how many exactly students we had miss, but a lot of schools had like 20% of their students not coming that day. They're sick, anything like that, because they didn't want to test, but that was just not even an issue at all, which I think is something big to look at, that students want to come in and do this and that it's important to them. And even if they don't want to do it, they know it's important for colleges and other things like that. So that's definitely something to be proud of. Except for that.
And even seniors, I know a lot of seniors went to take the SAT that day, which doesn't usually happen. But moving on from that, admin started a new teacher evaluation techniques, which are going well. NEASC, is that how I say it? NEASC. Meetings took place today. So since our high school, Miss St. Germain tried to explain this to me a little bit. Since our high school is accredited high school, which colleges want to see when want to see that we're accredited high school. The visiting team came in to evaluate our accreditation this afternoon, where they look at how we work with assignments, rubrics, and literacy. They just want to see like actual proof that our rubrics are like instilled in everyday work and not just like something that we fill out sometimes, like that there's actually proof to go along with it and like actual growth within students. And they're adding the elementary school to that for the first time. And then the Bright Arrow app is a new app that I think we're using. It's used as one consecutive app to alert parents and students of things within the school in one place, which I think is awesome because it instead of having multiple apps like Remind and emails and everything, it's just all in one place. Like it's just one, you can't complain about getting a lost email when it all comes, that's where you're expecting it. So it prevents miscommunications. And that's how we found out about the bonfire. It was awesome. We were just in English class and at the end of the day, and everyone's phones just lit up. We were like, oh no, the bonfire is canceled. But I don't know, it would have just been a rumor if we didn't have a notification like that. So that was awesome. And there was even one today about the football game with a ton of info that again, I don't think we would have even known about until we got the message. I think that's that as far as that. So just upcoming events. Let's see.
So upcoming events, like we said, the bonfire will be postponed. We're not exactly sure yet because we need rain because everything is so dry, especially with these fires that are going on. And Friday the 25th is the high school and middle school haunted hallways, which is a drama fundraiser. And the day after, the 26th, is the high school homecoming from 7 to 9:30 p.m. So that's very exciting. That'll be a fun night. And then Monday the 28th is Wheeler School Photo Retake Day. Not much said on that, but if you need your photos retaken, that's the day. Thursday, November 7th, and Friday, November 8th, is Wheeler Parent Teacher Conferences. And that is it for upcoming events.
And then on the elementary school side, we have some fun things. We have Spirit Days. They had their Wheeler colors or Wheeler swag. So everybody showed up wearing maroon or white, or if they had any Wheeler t-shirts or sweatpants or hats or sweatshirts, whatever. And then the favorite storybook character day is coming up, which will be Friday, October 25th. So that one usually has a lot of student turnout. Everybody's super excited to dress up as someone that they like reading about. Then the fire safety visit was on the 22nd. all of the classrooms visited besides besides kindergarten, because kindergarten actually has a field trip to the firehouse coming up this week. So they get a little private demonstration. They get to be a little bit more involved, which I think is a great way for any future firefighters, coming up. Got to start them young. Then Artie the Scarecrow, which I think we talked about last meeting, is being done by the art club and 6th grade, which is being displayed in Old Mystic, which is a vote. So, let's hope that we win. There was a kindness night where students displayed random acts of kindness on notes or through rock painting. And then we already talked about how we're planning the first town meeting. Then the Veterans Day assemblies coming up, which there'll be probably some volunteers for. I believe last year Give Back was involved, and there's always super high turnout, and it's a great way to honor the veterans in our community. They're still going strong with the parent volunteers in the kitchen and the playground. So far, there's been at least one per day, but most of the time there's more than one. The second step lessons have also been implemented, which deal with social emotional learning. The talent show tryouts are coming up next week. Under the innovation, we already talked about some of this. The Bridges Math, Number Corner, the STEAM team, and upcoming events are being planned. Mr. Standards has, like we just said, expanded the band to 4th grade, which I think is a great idea. I remember I did band when I was in elementary school. I think I did it from, I think it was 4th through 8th. And I think it was a great way for, kids to kind of try out instruments and get a little bit more involved in the arts. A lot of the times schools are pretty focused on sports. And I think that, music is also a really great way. And we have a fantastic music program here at Wheeler and at the elementary school, of course. And drama, again, I also did drama when I was in elementary school, and it was one of my favorites. I just, I think it's a great way for kids to be involved, and, it instills a lot of good skills for the future, learning how to work with a team and, knowing when you should be in a leadership position or when you should be kind of more in support. And I just think that kind of like dedication of our students just shows how strong we are of a school. And then for goal 3 with efficient processes, I think Grace touched on this. We had the first NEASC meeting. Then we talked about in the presentation, the SIT team meeting, the first parent advisory scheduled. So then for upcoming events, the Thursday, October 24th is Picture Day. Friday, October 25th is Fall Fest. Tuesday, October 29th is the talent show auditions. And then Thursday, November 7th and Friday, November 8th are parent-teacher conferences. So there'll be a 1 o'clock release at that time.
Thank you all. I liked your new format. Does anybody have questions for our student ambassadors?
I have a comment.
Sure.
Oh, good. You can hear me. To our student ambassadors, I just want to tell you how very impressed I am with you. I loved hearing what you have to say about the school, your perspective. I totally appreciate your feedback. Your voice is really important. So keep up the good work. You guys are awesome.
I was just hoping you could send us a copy of the bullying memes, because that sounds. Are they on the same doc? Then sure. If not everybody wants them, I think they sound super interesting, and I'm entertained. I work in a middle school, so the idea of like stealing some, if that's okay, would be wonderful.
I would love to see them too.
Anybody else? All right. Thank you again. And James, welcome. I don't know that we've had you at the table yet this year. Well, thank you for joining us. Okay, let's move on to our policy discussion. We'll talk bylaws. Chet pulled some bylaws together for us to keep working on. Chet, do you want to sort of lead us in this discussion?
I'm happy to. Honestly, it's just meant to be a presentation tonight of here are the ones that we're going to look at. Again, we need 4 weeks between when presented and when moving forward. But the biggest thing that I was hoping to be able to kind of have as a process is, so 9123 is the Office of Secretary. I don't remember why that was left in as one that we needed to talk about. So if you look at it and you think there's nothing wrong with it, then it would just be something, honestly, on some of these, if nobody has any comments or concerns, what I realized we can do is that we only need to wait 4 weeks if we're going to adjust them, which means that if these are presented, right, there's 5, if people look at them and they're like, well, we don't know why this would be here. It might have just been that when Lisa and I looked at them, we thought there was something that looked odd or whatever else it might be. But when we had looked at them originally, it was almost a year ago. So it's getting a little vaguer in my mind at this point. But if what I hear from everybody is we don't care, I'll pull it off of this and then we can add the next one on so we can keep those things moving forward so we don't have to worry about it as much.
Chet, I think I pulled this one and I could tell you why.
Oh, okay.
It's just that 9123 and 9124, there's language that's the same, that second paragraph. And I'm not sure it fits for our secretary, because Jamie doesn't have to be responsible for the accurate recording, but it said board designee.
What's interesting is that this was a conversation that we had though,
Yeah.
which is that it was presented to us by Cabe that she does need to be and should sign off on all of our on all of our minutes. However, we don't.
And then
so perhaps that would be the discussion we need to have.
Right. And then does the recording secretary also, because it says that the recording secretary has to do the same thing. And
So the recording secretary is responsible for actually taking them, right? Because that's Irma.
Yeah. It says the same thing here. So that's why I pulled it for us to talk about.
Okay. So that's 9123 and 9124. The big one that's going to come up is 9130 because that's committees. I guess it's not really 9130. It was
9132.
9132. But it's all about our committee process for those 3. The committee as a whole, the committee of the whole doesn't seem like it should be terribly an issue, but the setup of our committees doesn't actually match what we do at the moment. And I think we need to make the decision as to what we would be looking to do with that. I would love to be able to even possibly have a discussion a little bit about that in the next meeting so that we can vote to make changes in December and set that in as a new bylaw. Just because we've been operating out of compliance with our bylaws for a while now, because we've changed our committees like 6 times, I feel like, in the 3 years I've been on the board. So it feels like which ones we have, how we name them, whether they're based on our goals or based on certain pieces and all of these different things. So that piece of it, I think, is going to be a big one for us to discuss. The other ones I think are smaller issues. But that's going to be a big one, and it's going to take us a little bit of time, I think, unless we all just happily agree, which we might, because it seems like what we're doing is working at the moment. And so if it works, then maybe we just set it in our bylaws and move forward from that. But that's about it. Honestly, what it comes down to is at this point, we need a 4-week period before we can take action. But that doesn't mean we need a 4-week period in order to be able to discuss it. So we can talk about ideas at the next one and what people would like to do. But that 9132, I would say, is the one that most of you should spend your time looking through and making sure of how exactly you want that to be set up.
So Chet, for November, you want us to be ready to discuss any changes that we think we should make?
Any changes to these 5 that you would look at? There was another spot in which it actually says that Board of Education members have to be on at least 2, like, there's a whole set of things in here, right?
Yeah.
And those are the pieces that we're just going to have to, we're gonna have to figure out what we want to do moving forward and then enshrine them in the bylaws. Well, and that's the thing, I guess it could be something as simple as us saying, moving, the Board of Education sets the right to create committees at will based on need. Well, that's the thing, based on
Really, it
need or
could-
process.
Right. It could be, we could maybe fold it into that one committee one, right? Put all the language we want in there and then.
We just want to make sure that our bylaws give us the ability to form ad hoc committees and
Right.
to form standing committees
Right.
and to put the final decision making on the membership of those committees on the chair of the board. That
Yeah.
would be the 3 main steps I think need to be there when I'm looking through it. But otherwise, I don't know what else we really need. I feel like a lot of these bylaws are just a whole lot of words that don't necessarily affect our practice as much as they could if they were simpler words.
Would you be put out to try to streamline and put something together for that to share with the board?
If people are comfortable with me doing that, I am happy to put something like that together, because to be honest, the legal precedent on this is very, very little, and it only has to do with the sharing of information and the fact that those committee meetings have to be open to the public, and I can leave that language in, so it leaves that safe. So if you are all okay with the idea of me writing up a simplified, these are the steps to forming a committee or something.
Yeah.
I think that would be an
I'm good
amazing
with that.
place for us to start. Like, that would really help, like, get us moving.
Okay. I can do that on the committee piece. And are people okay if I squish all 3 of these into one bylaw? Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. When do you plan to send those just to be in the agenda packet next time, or do you think you're going to get it to us before that?
When's our next meeting? Let's go with I get them into the agenda packet.
Sounds good. Thank
We
you.
can't actually take a motion on it until December anyway.
Right.
And so really what it would be is, do you think it's okay? Or should I go back to the drawing board coming into December?
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, so facility and finance discussion. I think the most important update is that Lisa Mazzella is going to take Alex's spot, and that we elected Christine to be the chair of the finance committee. Christine, do you want to give an update? I see that on the agenda, we don't have reviewing the September report. Do you want to hit the highlights?
Sure.
I don't.
Yeah, and I think I'll default mostly to the business manager report,
For
but
sure.
there's a couple of things that came to light that we're looking at. One is building repairs continue to be a huge issue. We're almost 200% over budget, anticipated to be over budget on that. The other thing is we grossly underestimated the cost of utilities in this budget that we put forward. It looks like it's possible that some of the credits we got back from the electric last year was assumed again this year when we were given the electric numbers. So we're going to be over budget on electricity as well. We do have, with some staffing changes, some positive movement on the health insurance line, which should help us as well. And we have asked to get kind of an outline of what those changes look like, what is actually impacting that health insurance line, so that we have a clear understanding of that. And also as time progresses and we have more time to get kind of a true idea of what the teacher salary line looks like as well. Because at the time we budget versus the time when school starts, there's always a lot of staffing changes. And so we just want to see a true projection of that as to the best of our ability.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions about the September report?
I was just gonna, are we thinking we might be in a spot where we should be looking at using non-lapsing for building repairs? No. Okay,
We
I just,
don't want to use the non.
I know we don't, but what I'm just, we can't really use it for electricity.
No, so
Right.
what we are going to look at is finding out what the appropriations process is, and if we are over budget, can we, after the fact, go back to the town and ask for an appropriation to cover those expenses? That will be if the entire board's on board with doing that.
We're just gonna get a little more information to make sure we are in the right spot. Any other questions on the September report? Kathy, do you want to come up and give your report?
Last month, I think it was last month, days are blurry. You folks asked me what maybe my top 10 concerns would be. And so, yeah, 2 o'clock in the morning, it starts going through my head. And before this meeting, I would have said the number one thing was preparing next year's budget. Because of my lack of knowledge about the budget process and envisions. I'm confident that I've built budgets for years that we can do it, but it's going to take a little bit of time. But I'm going to replace number one with the audit because we haven't been audited for the fiscal year end. With the 2 accountants at the town being replaced, the audit's been put off till January. And I think the business manager prior to me left at the end of the fiscal year. So I'm sure there are going to be a lot of requests for reports and reconciliations that I probably won't be able to put my hands on. It's going to take me a little time to recreate what the auditors will need. Likewise, maybe I think it's once every 5 years you get an audit from the nutrition, the state nutrition program, and we've been selected and we will be audited in March. So making sure that our lunch program, our accounts, our financials, all of our documentation, when we have reduced or free lunch, everything is up to snuff for this March audit. Number 4, grants is the state has a grant database, and staying on top of that grant database can be a little bit challenging. But I'm getting used to it and getting along. And number 5 is student activity accounts and scholarship and the lunch. We maintain 4 different accounting systems. Harris accounting for our activities, which we haven't kept up to date, so we don't have any support on it. And then we use QuickBooks 2015 for our lunch program and 2015 for our scholarship program. So we need to invest the time and energy into updating the accounting systems and getting everything onto one platform, which I think would just be QuickBooks in the cloud. And then, because right now everything's on the prior business manager's hard drive. That being said, I think student activity accounts are important, and we're going to look at them again at the next finance committee meeting. I've been working to make sure we're a nonprofit, and as such, we're supposed to spend the money that we raise throughout the year within that year, unless we're saving for a particular capital project. And I think I don't think we're spending as much as we could be spending. So we're going to spend down some of that activity money and put a new process in place with a different accounting system. So I think there's a lot on my plate right now. It's not unmanageable, but it's going to be a busy next 6 months. So anybody have any questions?
Kathy, are there things that you need from the board to help support you in figuring this all out?
I don't think that there's anything that the board could do for me. It's really just the time involved in figuring out what was done prior to my being here and recreating it. Yeah, it's just, it's a time consuming process, but it's one, every day I turn over a new rock and I learn something new. So every day it gets a little bit easier. I've been here not even 4 months, so it's a lot different than the first day I started. It gets easier, but it's a learning curve, so bear with me.
Thank you. Troy, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I totally agree. Kathy has a lot on her plate and she works really hard. She's an exceptional worker. She's very smart and she's putting in a lot of hours. If you notice her car here is early in the morning. And I honestly, I am worried that what she says she doesn't need help and she's learning every day. And that is true, but I want to make sure that what we're asking her to do is sustainable for her. And because I think she's a perfectionist and she wants to get it right, exactly right. And we'll wake up at 2 a.m. thinking about it. And I want her to sleep well. So I want her job to be sustainable. And it's not quite there yet. So we're going to have more conversations and figure that out. And if she needs help, we know that we can get some help from Learn is one source that actually helped with the business manager transition. And we're actually going to see some of those people tomorrow at the Health Consortium meeting.
I just have quick, yeah, Kathy, we want to support you in any way we can. We are super excited to have you on board and think you're going to do an exceptional job for us, but we don't want it to be cumbersome and we certainly don't want you to burn out.
Thank you.
And once you get over that training, I think the things that we are asking for though are pretty regular, accounting things that a board would ask for. And I don't feel uncomfortable asking for those things, but we definitely understand the time restraint for you. And just know that when we're asking for something, we don't expect it tomorrow. Okay. So if something's pressing, we will let Troy know and he would share that with you. But now it's just kind of, these are the things we'd like to see in the future.
Yep.
But we as a board, I think, I don't want to speak for the whole board, but I don't think we want to put additional pressures on you by any sense. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Kathy? Okay, thank you. Moving on to our capital plan.
So on the capital plan, we had two major items. One is a replacement of the meals ambulance that transports food from the elementary school to Wheeler. And the other one was a student activity vehicle. So I have updates on both of those. M&J Bus, is our a bus transportation company. They have offered to gift us a cargo van that is used, that they used to use for student transportation, but it's older, it has 117,000 miles on it, but it runs well. So we're going to be taking that van. We're going to receive it for free. It's going to be registered to the town of North Stonington as our other vehicles are, and it's going to replace the ambulance, which rarely starts. So we've already met with the town, and they're going to help check out the van, make sure it's in good running order, help clean it up and set it up the way we need it. So we're really thankful to M&J Bus for that. We have a meeting with them Monday. Kathy and I do. They'll also be presenting us a draft contract for the next several years for bus transportation on Monday. So the other vehicle is the student activity vehicle that we had in there. And there's been some discussion and thought and generous thoughts on the town level. And they have nothing's locked in stone. But there are a couple vehicles that the senior center uses, and they don't use them often. And usually it's in the summer. And we've actually borrowed one of those vehicles quite often for some sports transportation. So it is possible that we may have increased access to that smaller vehicle and a larger a bus that I think is a 16 passenger bus, and they both are handicapped accessible. It can take a wheelchair. And it is possible that maybe we would have them parked at the school and have the easier access. And then when the seniors needed them, they would just let us know and would make sure that they get them. So that's promising. Nothing's locked in stone, but further discussion will happen on that. I do have the state bid list of companies that supply vehicles here in case we want to reach out specifically to someone and get more accurate estimate if we choose to buy one. So that update, one other part of the capital updates is, there was a crack in one of the classrooms in the tile, under the tile in the concrete floor. We did take a look at that. The first selectman and facilities person of the town and our facilities person, myself. And we really believe that it's just due to kind of normal settling of a new building. So we're going to repair that. It's going to be a minor repair, probably $200, and then we're going to watch it and hopefully it doesn't crack again. And if it cracks again, then that's signs of a larger problem. But we really believe it won't. So that's where that is. And at this point in time, the Board of Ed is still paying for those building repairs because we haven't decided that the town will pay for certain things yet. That's all just been in discussion, but maybe after July 1st, if it became a larger problem, it's now the problem of the town. That's my update on capital.
That sounds like a weirdly positive updated capital report. So basically everything just is going to go okay, hopefully.
It's super positive.
I was confused why when you're like, well, I do have the bid list if we want to reach out still. I'm like, no, freeze better. That sounds spectacular. Thank you, Troy.
Well, thank you to, the town and for everybody that's, I mean, there's a lot of people involved in that.
I think it's also worth saying that there's been a really nice flow of information between the town and central office. I think that Alan from the town offering to go through that van from M&J to make sure that like everything's working great and offering to like take out anything that needs to come out and put in if we need shelving and that sort of stuff. It's just, I'm really pleased that the staff that currently in place see the value in the collaboration. So even today walking through, or the other day walking through the school and looking at those cracks, I think that's great. So everyone's on the same team and that really helps. Do you have an irrigation update?
Yes. So a couple things on the irrigation. I did recently reach out to the person in charge of administrating the grant. It's for the Department of Economic and Community Development. And they let me know that it's kind of in, there's a pending part we have to wait for. It's the State Historic Preservation Office is reviewing, what we had talked about. They had to come and make sure that there was no, historical artifacts on the property and all that. And that's still in review. So that is currently pending. So we can't do anything until we do that. Once that is done, we will submit the RFP to them before we put it out to bid. We have to submit that to them. So that's the answer for that. And then once I submit that to them, it'll take about 2 weeks for them to review it and say, okay, it's good to put out. So we're kind of in limbo. The other part of it is I've updated the RFP with ideal dates because the dates we had, we wanted to get out in March. So we're a bit behind. I would like to get out as soon as we can. So as soon as they tell us we have the go, I want to get it out and put a timeline together for that, including getting the bid out, having people do a walkthrough, submitting the bids, and then us deciding on the winning bid. And the last thing is, we had Tom Irwin Associates write that RFP. And in going through it, it's several pages, but they're supposed to, it says a couple times, see attached form, and there's no attached form. So I've asked him, where are the attached forms? And he said, okay, yeah, you're right. There's no attached forms. We're going to get you the attached forms. They haven't got me the attached forms yet. So I'm waiting for those forms. If we don't get them, I could just make them up. Actually, it's just like a summary for the bid and, you know, and an agreement, right? But we paid them to do the RFP. I want the forms. Yeah. So that's irrigation update.
Troy, did they let you know if the historical people, if they need other things from us? And we had that pretty simple letter
Yeah.
some time ago.
I know. The email I got is the next step in the process is the completion of the State Historic Preservation Office review. And this is currently pending. So I could double check on that. I'm kind of assuming that they have what they need and they're just making a decision, but maybe I could inquire as to what that pending means if they're waiting for anything else from us.
That would be great.
It would be possible, I suppose.
Thank you. Any other questions on irrigation?
Is the eventual hope that we're going to be doing the irrigation work in the summertime?
Yeah,
Okay.
to limit the disruption to athletics.
And there's no effect on the grant processes that we're going out another.
I've been told that we don't have a timeline on the steep grant.
Any other questions on irrigation? Okay, on to storage needs. I think this is my update. Troy, jump in.
I can, yep.
If you
And
have anything.
yeah,
So
go ahead.
we had chatted a bit about like our storage trailer that we have, the permit that we have for that, whether that permit's expired. We want a new one to replace the one in the bus depot. John had some concerns. John's been running down these concerns with his planning and zoning people, so that's really helpful. I met with Cheryl in the land use office, pulled the permit and the supporting documents so that I could look a little bit at it. I'm going to touch base with Susan Cullen. She's the planner, but she's away at a conference this week. So I'll touch base with her next week just to get a little more clarity on what the regulation says regarding storage containers and trailers and our permitting. I'm feeling more confident about it today than I was last week. So I'll keep you updated as I get more information. But I feel like we're moving in the right direction to make sure everything's good.
Yeah, and I could add a little bit of information to that. Just recently, I met Randy and I met with Bob Carlson and Alan Ladd, and just to talk about our storage challenges, and really with no expectation of anything being solved, but just to kind of just share what we're struggling with, and just so they know. And maybe if they had an idea, great. And they had an idea. So, and the idea will work, at least temporarily. Okay. So, you know, the white building that we used to use on this property here on this road, there's still space in there. So we're going to be able to store both of our lawn mowers in there for the winter. Okay. So that alleviates the need to get a second storage container right now. And honestly, getting the storage containers are not an ideal setup. I mean, first of all, they're not attractive, really heavy if you decide to move them. And you know, really a larger area that could be storage plus maintenance work area would be ideal. And we had talked about that in the past and we just weren't there yet. But I think so. Temporarily, we're going to be okay with the current unit we have if we are able to keep it, and with the collaboration with the town through this winter. So I don't know if what they offer for their solution could be a long-term solution. I think probably no. I think we're still going to have to address our storage needs later for the snow removal equipment, lawn equipment, and other things that we need. So that's the update for that. And I really appreciate the collaboration with the town in multiple areas and most recently our storage needs.
I have a question. Since our capital line item is zeroed out right now, would you anticipate, Troy, that being something that maybe we need to entertain as a capital item?
I mean, I would be open to that, if the board wanted me to put it up as a capital item. Like, you mean a storage shed? We had originally talked about a storage shed, like 30 by 40 feet with a concrete slab and maybe electric running into it. And we were talking about the space between the two buildings where there's now a parking lot. So I think we'd have to find another space because we really need that parking. But in that space could be where the storage container is possibly right now, or maybe some other place. I think we should probably look at options in case we do need one. And I think we do need one at some point in the future, because I do think the town collaboration and our temporary storage needs is temporary.
I would just be a little bit concerned about having submitted a capital list, having the Board of Selectmen discuss the capital list and actually find some solutions for us. And then sort of moving the goalposts and saying, oh, since you solved that, like we have some more. So I would be a huge fan, Troy, of you assessing our needs. But I also get a little bit concerned, and I shared this with you briefly, that I want to make sure that we're assessing our long-term needs before we're making long-term solutions. So really understanding a little bit more about maintenance and grounds and that sort of stuff, and what we need to store, what we don't need to store. And my understanding was the town also offered us some space at the town garage,
That's true.
including, which I thought was really nice. They have like a place where they can wash their equipment. And I don't think we currently have anything like that here. But they're offering that to us as well. So I just don't want to jump out there too fast. We actually approved money for that, another storage container out of our non-lapsing account. And so
Mhm.
I think, are we just sort of sitting on that for a minute?
I
until
think we
figure it out?
can't get it because I don't think we can.
We just want
It's a permitting
figure it out.
process that
Yeah.
we'd have to work through in order to get that. And
Okay.
I think
No, I don't think we have to do anything right now, but we approved one. It's just sitting there. I think that it's a good opportunity just to give Troy a minute to assess things, let us figure out the permitting process. And if you don't need it, then we could always get rid of it in the future.
right.
Any other questions on storage? All right, moving on to old business. Troy, do you want to give us an IT restructure update?
Sure. As you know, our IT director left with giving us 2 weeks' notice. And that's a lot of responsibility to get a handle on in 2 weeks. Luckily, Kathy and I had met with Learn and signed a contract with them to help us if needed. And well, we needed the help. And they came in and they've been unbelievably helpful to us. There's a person that came in all day yesterday. She's coming in all day tomorrow again. She's one of the people that helped us with the email fiasco in the spring to help correct that problem. You may remember that. She and her colleagues, there's 15 people in the IT department of Learn, and some of them have real specific areas of expertise. All of them are available to us right now if we need something. So Greg Cormier, our IT technician, has really stepped up. And he is now able to do things he didn't have. It wasn't the ability, it was the access to do. He now has the access to do things that he could not do before. And so in assessing what's going on right now, things are actually functioning better with IT right now than they were a month ago. So I want to be really careful of how we set up this IT department. And actually what we're doing now, if we continue to do it throughout the year, will actually save us money. Because Learn is a education support center, and they're able to give districts support at a discount rate because they make so much money with special education. That's where they take most of the money in. So they're able to give us real high quality support. People we probably couldn't afford to employ because of the expertise is so high. and we have them working with us a couple days a week. And I think it's going really well. I know Greg Cormier believes it's going really well. And I think the teachers and administrators are beginning to see that. For example, the camera that films lacrosse and soccer activities has not been functioning well for years. Greg Cormier went and he fixed it just like that because he had the access. All right. So he's a really great employee. He's helped a lot with the before and after school program and the system Arlie and the tech support on that. So, sometimes the people within, you got to look at who you have, and this is a great opportunity for him. And I think our setup right now, if we continue it, it's better than like Preston, for example, uses Learn. They only have Learn. They don't have an on-site person, but they're happy with it. They have Learn coming and helping a couple days a week, do a lot of it remotely. And they just took over Basra IT. There's no IT person, it's just Learn, and they're running it for them. And they're in other districts. So I want to be really careful about just going with what we've had when possibly we can do it better. And right now, it's way better.
Quick question.
Yep.
How much is the contract with Learn? How much do you think that costs annually to go in this direction instead? For the two visits a
I
week?
think I did it out. Just give me 1 second, and I don't want to say anything wrong.
And you can get
All
back
right.
to us on
So if you had Learn come in twice a week for the whole year, the whole 52 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Twice a week, it'd be just over $50,000,
Okay, thank you.
and that's no benefits either.
Right.
Do you think that Learn can hit on some of the things we talked about in our retreat with the communication? Is that also within their purview?
Possibly, they might be able to assist with some of that. But I have some other ideas about how to get some of that done, which needs to be further explored. But yeah, they could be at least support of that. Yeah.
Other questions for Troy on the IT situation? Troy, when do you think you'll have a solid plan how you want to move forward?
I'm this close to saying, let's just continue on doing twice a week for the rest of the school year and assess that because it's working so well right now. I have been saying I'm in the assessment stage because it has happened just recently.
Sure.
And I didn't want to make any irresponsible decisions. So I really, if Learn is able to commit to us a couple times a week to support, and that's better service than what we had a month ago, I say we do it for the rest of the year.
Are we getting feedback from admins and teachers and everything as well as to how that's working, since they're kind of the boots on the ground, basically?
I'm getting some feedback from the administrators. I have to talk to them more, but we
Okay.
also have a technology committee made up of several teachers.
Mhm.
And Greg Cormier has been sitting in on that committee. We've met twice so far, and we're coming up with a sustainable technology plan for the future,
Okay.
including this fiscal year 26 budget that we'll be building. And on the last meeting, we had Michelle Kazi, who is the person from Learn, sit in on the committee and give ideas to the committee about a sustainable technology plan. So people are seeing the impact. They've seen the Learn people in the schools. A lot of the teachers have seen them, have talked to them. And the reality is we have a ticket system, and Greg Cormier is able to keep up with all of the ticket requests from staff for IT support. So, we haven't put a survey out to the whole staff, but all indications are things are going better than they were.
I'm happy to say that we do use Learn, and I remember when we switched from having a director of IT in our district and we switched over, and the staff to begin with was like, how are we possibly going to function without a director of IT to go to for all of these problems? What if it happens like this? What are we the response time is incredibly fast. The process is impressive. And the texts that they have that are coming, I guess they're not texts. The IT guys that they have who are coming in are spectacular. They've become a part of our school. So I think it's a very viable option that we don't want to dismiss just because of the way that we used to do it. So
Troy, we'll check back with you at the next meeting and you can tell us how it's going. I really appreciate you taking a look at this. Our district is small enough, I think, that when you have sort of a high dollar position like an IT director leave, and this is where we need the critical look. And so I appreciate you doing it. And potentially we could be doing better things for less money. So thank you. I want to update everybody on the state of the town that is scheduled for Monday at 6 p.m. I am so happy to say that Lisa, Bob Carlson, and I have been meeting, and it's been really super fun. So there is a flyer that has been developed. I have like a paper copy, but it's not great. It's on social media. If you see it and are inclined, if you could share it within your own group, I think that would be great. The way the night is structured, I think is sort of capturing what we talked about being important. So it's going to start at 6. At 6:15, Bob Carlson's going to present for 10 minutes. I'll present for 10 minutes. And then the next 10 minutes will be Heather Summers and Greg Howard talking about just stuff that's occurring in Hartford that has impacted us or is likely to impact us in the future. And then the presentation part is over. So 6:15 to 6:45, all 3 of those presentations. And then we move on to the idea that people can mingle with each other, but also with these groups that are coming. I'm going to quick read you a list, but I want to highlight that the giving closet is not only going to be there, but they're going to be accepting donations, and the food pantry will also be represented and will be accepting donations as well. Troy is going to offer some school tours for residents that maybe haven't gotten in our schools yet. And we are going to have some light refreshments. Our student representatives have been getting a few groups together from the school, so we really appreciate that. But here's who I have. Athletic Boosters, Giving Closet, National Honor Society, the Lions Club, KINSA, Wheeler Library, Girl Scouts, Music Boosters, the North Stonington Food Pantry, Wheeler Give Back Club, the North Stonington Education Foundation, Wheeler Diversity Council, North Stonington Quarterly, the Pawcatuck Neighborhood Center, North Stonington Historical Society, State Senator Heather Summers, State Representative Greg Howard, Conservation Commission, Rotary Club, North Stonington Ambulance, Wild and Scenic Rivers Commission. They are on the flyer. And then today we added the Recreation Commission, Ledge Light, Sustainability Committee, the Grange, the Fair Committee, Senior Resources Agency on Aging, and I think we are probably going to have the fire company there as well. Well, we're going to do a walkthrough tomorrow night, Bob, Lisa, and I, and we're going to figure out where to put them. But I've been so excited that groups in the community are saying, we want to come and talk about what we're doing. Bob mailed 167 flyers today. Those are the people that have moved into town since he took office 3 years ago. And he was thinking that that's probably the best population to say, hey, come see what North Stonington's about, see what's happening. So he mailed those out today. And we've been trying to give this wide distribution. We want people to come see each other, see what we're doing. And we're really focusing on this being a really positive night. We don't want to talk about budgets and numbers, but rather like what makes our town our town. So please.
So can
come
I
and-
ask a question?
Is that Brian?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Thank you. Why are we having some people who are running for public office now
Sure,
coming
fair
in and
question.
talking?
Yeah, fair question. And it's actually one that we talked about at length. So we likened it to the idea that during an election season, elected officials still
Mhm.
have to do their job and represent what they're doing. So we were talking about, like, let's say it's a municipal election. We wouldn't say to Bob, Nicole Porter, or Brett, or even to any of us, hey, we can't have you talking about what's happening in your town as that because you're running. So we were really careful to make sure that in our conversations with both Senator Summers and Representative Howard, that we were clear with them that we're not looking for you to campaign, but you've been doing this job. Both of them have been in the job for a long time, and are actively working on things, specifically as they relate to the town. So I'd like them to be there to talk about it. And I'd like to provide, obviously, townspeople access to them. They're pretty accessible anyway, but it seems like, I think you're probably correct in saying that if we were doing this in, say, December, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But regardless of when we do it, they are who they are. They've been functioning in those roles, and that's why we've invited them. I think it's notable that Nicole Porter, who is, I think, the vice chair of the DTC, when having conversations during the selectmen's meeting, was really clear that, look, I don't want campaigning going on, but it makes sense that they be a part of it. So I felt better that Nicole sort of understood as well the value in having them there.
Right, thank you.
Sure. Anybody else? All right, so I hope to see you there, and I hope that I have even more good news about even more groups that are wanting to join us to talk about North Stonington. That's all I have about the state of the town. We don't have any new business tonight, thank goodness. For administrative, we have correspondence. I have none. Troy, do you have any?
No.
Okay, so we just have to approve some minutes in your packet, September 11th and September 25th. Does anyone want to make motions?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of September 11th.
Second.
Any discussion about those minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to approve September 25th.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Brian, are you voting?
Aye.
Thanks. Any opposed? Abstain? Okay, great. I think, is it calendar? All right, so all I want you to do, I just wanted to bring this to your attention super early. In your packet, you see the scheduled meetings that we set at our last meeting for next year. And then you also have the draft of the budget timeline. Just like last year, we have some overlap with Board of Finance meetings and our regularly scheduled meetings. Most notably Wednesday, March 12th, Wednesday, March 26th, Wednesday, April 9th, and Wednesday, April 23rd. So all of our meetings in March and April, the Board of Finance also plans to meet, and I think all of those will require at least a representative from the Board of Ed at those meetings. So I thought if everybody took a look at it now, and then in maybe in December, if we can just make some sort of a plan about how we want to handle our meetings, if we want to make them early, if we want to move them to a different day. Last year, I felt like it sort of snuck up on us. So I just wanted to put this on everybody's mind, and let's start thinking about it.
Steph, can I just ask how,
Yeah.
Sorry to elongate, but if we need to change it, and is there any timeline that we could change it and still have it be a regular meeting for us? Or is no matter what, since we, like, how can we make it regular meetings, I guess?
So when I read this thing that we signed, I think we could send it in again if we wanted to, as long as we sent, maybe we'd have to send it in November.
That's what I was trying to figure out if there was a
Um,
timeline we had to
Yeah,
do
it's
this by.
before the first 30 days before the first regularly scheduled meeting in 2025. So we certainly can talk about it again. It's
I-
just in 2 weeks.
I think maybe we want to do that so that we have a at least one regular, or at least 2 regularly scheduled meetings that we set during those months.
Sure.
Even if we leave one of the other ones the same and figure it out by going to a different space, know that we have one that's in a space and we're good and we can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But-
So I think the biggest struggle that we have is not necessarily the space, because it does, you're right, it does overlap, but it's that representatives from our board will be required to be at their meeting. So it might be us looking at doing another day. So look at your schedules and see.
We did it last year as moving it to
We would
did
meet
it
at 5:30.
5:30 and did an hour-long meeting,
Right.
right?
Which is tough if we're addressing budget issues and our regular meeting. I tend to think you're right. If we could get like a regular meeting each of those months stuck somewhere, leaving the other sort of open.
Well,
Right.
and that's what I figure is that if we get one in there and we know it's gonna just so that we have one of those meetings where we can add our agenda items on the fly and have those aspects in play. It's just nice to have one.
Yeah. So look at your calendars and let's talk about it in January, and we'll try and fix it early this year. It was actually very nice at their last Board of Finance meeting. The Board of Finance identified that this would likely be a problem for us, and that Mike Anderson was going to reach out to me about that too. So it's nice that everyone sort of notices that budget season is really disruptive to our schedule. So, okay, so that is all we have. Is there any public comment in the room? Is there any public comment not in the room? Does anyone want to make a motion?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
Make
for
a
sure.
mo-
It's Alex's motion to make.
I make a motion to adjourn my career.
I
here.
second.
It's adjourning his career and the meeting.
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
Second that.
Okay, all in
Second.
favor? Aye. Thank you, Alex. Good night.